Folks, Chief Morton here, again trying to demonstrate how we do things using emergency reporting. Of course, that's the software that we use in order to handle a lot of our administrative details with the fire department. And one of the things that we utilize this software to do is to track training. So in this particular video, we're going to show you how to enter in a training report. Now, I've already logged into emergency reporting. I'm using the test user login. This may look exactly like what you see when you log in. It may be a little different. That's okay. Mine says test user because I'm using the test. And so we are going to go over here to the left. Remember, this is where we enter incidents. This is where we enter hydrant data. We're going to go to training because training will send us to the training report section. And so when we click on it, we can see a new screen pops up, and it shows us all the different training reports that have been entered in. Training reports for the future, training reports from the past, training reports from yesterday, and so on and so forth. If it's been entered in, you see it here. So if we are entering in a class that is not yet in here, in other words, something that has not been reported yet, then we go to Add Class. We go to Add Class, and this little window pops up and asks us a few basic things about the class itself. The first one it asks is class name. So let's say that we did some kind of training on using the emergency response guidebook. So we're going to give that class a name to fit that. Now, if the class actually had a defined name, let's say you were taking a class with the state, and it's hose, streams, and appliances. That's what you put in there. Okay, underneath class name, you see class date and time. This is the date and time that this particular session of the class started. So if it was today, I can just click today, and it fills in the date for me automatically. But maybe it wasn't today. Maybe it was last Monday. In that case, this is the 6th of July that I'm looking at. So when I click in the date area, I'll do that again. I just go pick on the calendar where I want to go, the 6th. Maybe it was last month. So I can go from July to June. And we'll set it for the 1st. Whenever it was, we'll go back to today. Now we've set it for today. This is where the date goes. This is where the time goes. The time goes here in 24 hours. So if it's in the morning, let's say it was 8 o'clock in the morning, it's 0800. On the other hand, if it was 8 o'clock at night, 2000, 2000 hours. Got it? Got it. Good. Okay, next thing here, we create class from scratch, and we are going to make a single class. In other words, we're going to make one edition of this. So filled out the class name, filled out the date, filled out the time, left this where it was, left this where it was. We're good. So we hit Add Class. And this brings us to the first actual screen of the training report process. It's called the info screen. See? Info. Look, class name's already been filled out. Same thing we entered over there. So is class date and time. They're already here. You won't believe how easy this is. See, it's helping you out already. The next thing that we see is class category. Again, I'm going to make things easy for you. Click on select a class category and select to be determined. You're going to pick to be determined so that a chief officer or a training officer can pick the right class category for you. That's all you got to do is go to be determined. We'll figure it out. Class length, leave it blank. Leave this blank. Station, we're station 20, so set it to station 20. Okay, so here's the first question, the first portion of this. It might be a little tricky. Evaluation methods. How were you as a student, or how were students evaluated in the class? In other words, how did the class measure how well they performed? Let's say, for instance, it was a class where you didn't have to do anything. You just sat there and listened to somebody talk. So there was no evaluation. There's no kind of test. There's no skills you had to perform. You just showed up and listened. And I click none. And I leave none. And you notice when I click none, I can't click any of these other ones. But if there were some kind of test or evaluation, now I have to pick what kind it was. So we have 3 choices here, and you can pick any one of the 3 or all the 3, however you need to mix them up. Written test, I can pick that if I had to take a written test. I can pick a subjective evaluation if it was an opportunity for my performance to be judged without being a skill or without being a written test. And I can pick manipulative if there was a skill I had to perform. So let's say that for this exercise, for this particular class, I had to take a written test at the end and I had to perform some skills. There you go. So I click 2. All right, next block here, instructors. You notice the instructor area is blank, but it's got add right here. I click add, and this is where I tell the computer who the instructors were for the class. So if the instructors came from the Elkin Fire Department, you leave this at agency personnel, and you go pick the person who taught the class. We'll say that guy. So there we go. He taught the class. And let's say he was the lead instructor. Now, he could have been the assistant instructor, he could have been an evaluator, but for this one, we'll stick with lead instructor. We say save. And in a moment, it will update the record to show him as the lead instructor. But let's say he wasn't the only instructor. Let's say that he had help from somewhere else. Let's say Ian Harrell helped him teach the class. Ian works for Surrey Community College, so we put that in there. And Ian was the assistant instructor. And when we hit save, record updates. And now we have 2 instructors, a lead instructor and an assistant. You can add as many instructors as is needed. Got it? Good. Resources, for now, leave it blank. We're not using that just yet, so you don't have to worry about putting anything there. Told you this was going to be easy. Training codes. Remember what we did in class category? We set this to be determined so that the training officer or a chief officer can figure it out later. It's the same thing we're going to do in training codes. We go to be determined and click the little check mark. We hit add. And the record updates with a to be determined mark. But there is something I have to fill out here. I have to tell how many hours and how many minutes that we spent in training. So let's say that the training lasted 30 minutes. I have to enter this as hours, minutes. So 0:30. That's a half an hour. If it was 45 minutes, 0:45. I forgot to type for a moment. Let's say it was an hour. 1:00. Let's say it was 6 hours and 20 minutes. You get the idea. We're going to set it to 3 hours. There you go, 3 hours. Okay, next block, standards. For right now, I want you to leave it blank. The training officer and or chief officer may choose to put something in there, but for now, leave it blank. The next block we have is location. Notice it says none selected. Well, we had to have a place where we took part in training, so we click change. And we go to choose an existing location. And when we look through these, we have a lot of different options that have already been put in here. There's the fire station. We're going to assume for this purpose that we did the training here. But let's say that instead it was a driver training class and we drove all around town trying to get folks practice with driving. Then we picked town of Elkin. Let's say it was at Surrey Community College at the center in Dobson. There that is. Or maybe it was at the rescue squad. Hey, maybe you did it at home. Look, private residence. There it is. But no, we'll go back to Elkin Fire Department. There we go. And you hit save. You can only put one location in, by the way. Can't add more than one. All right, next thing here, last one on this screen, objective. We have to write some kind of statement, some kind of clear statement, using good English, that explains what the point for the training was. Not what you did, not what the instructor told you to do, what the point of the training was, the purpose of the training. So for a class about the DOT Emergency Response Guidebook, I might say something like this. Okay, simple and to the point. I said who, the student. I said what, use the guidebook, and I said how. Write an objective that tells the purpose of the class. Let me give you an example of another one about the same subject. Looky there, nice and simple. Students gain experience in utilizing the Emergency Response Guidebook at hazardous materials incidents. The objective does not have to be complicated. The point is you want to explain why we did the training. Got it? Okay, so the info screen, first of the 5 screens, is done. Now we go to narrative. And this is where, just like with an incident narrative, we tell the story of what happened in the class. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just needs to tell the story of what happened. Again, the statement, the narrative, does not have to be complicated. It needs to tell the story, using good English, of what happened in the training. Once you get that done, you're done with the narrative. There's nothing else on the screen. The next thing we go to is the file screen, third screen of this. So what this is for is it allows us to upload into the system different files or different internet links related to the class. Let's say that we had some kind of handout that we used in the class. Then I could click on Add Files, and I could upload it so that it would stay with the report. Same thing as if I use some kind of internet link. I could enter that and save it, and it would be with the report, which is great because, first of all, it connects the training report with some of the things that actually happened at the training. It also allows people who maybe want to take part in the class in the future to go look at the files or the links that were used in the class. Let's say the pictures were taken at the class. You could do add files and upload the pictures so that folks could see what happened. Same thing with video. You could upload videos. So, great thing to have. But let's say I don't have any files to add to this one, so I just leave everything blank. Again, first, second, third screen, I go to the fourth. The fourth is for people. This is where I enter the people who took part in the class. I'll enter the folks who took part in it that were part of the Elkin Fire Department first. So I click Add Agency Personnel, and I put check marks next to all the people who took part in the class. So I'm just going to pick a few people who will say took part in the class. Random here. Okay. When I get all the folks picked from the Elkin Fire Department who took part in the class, I hit Add, and there they are. Now they've appeared on the list. But let's say there were also folks there who were not from Elkin Fire Department and took part in the class. So I can click Add Non-Agency Personnel, and I can put their names in too. And I can put in as many as I need. We'll stick with one. Okay. So here everyone is that is in the class. Let's say that everyone passed the class, then check marks should be by everyone's name. But what if someone didn't? What if Joe Smith here didn't pass the class? Well, then I just uncheck the checkbox next to his name. If no one passed the class, I can hit Fail All, and now it looks like everyone failed. We'll set it back so everyone passed. You can also put grades for each person in here. So let's say that William made a 92. I can type it right in there. Maybe Austin made an 86. Hey Austin, you should have done better. Just kidding. We'll take the grades back out. If you didn't get grades, still fill it out. Now we have a section where we put in how many hours that each person spent in the training. But remember, we already said that because we said earlier in the first screen that everybody took part in 3 hours. So all we have to do is hit fill, say OK, and it sets it appropriately. Now everybody's marked for 3 hours. Notice that non-agency personnel do not get hours. Only the folks who are with us. Last thing here, pay grade. For now, leave it at whatever it says. Don't worry about filling it out. The training officer or chief officers will figure out whether or not somebody is supposed to be paid for the class or not. So just leave it at whatever it says. If it says drill, leave it at drill. If it looks like this, leave it blank. If it says this, leave it the way it is. We will change it later. Got it? Good. Okay, so this screen is done. Last screen, I go to Authorized. If there are issues, it will mention them here. The reason why there's an issue here is because our friend, Mr. Joe Smith, is entered in. If I delete him, now I can go back and it should work fine. Looky there, fixed. You filled out all 4 screens up to now. Look, they're all green. The only thing that's left is Authorized. Now you just say password, and you put in whatever your password is. Leave this blank. Leave this blank if you see it. Some of you may not see that. Complete class. Oh, I put in the wrong password. And hit complete class. And now, the training report is done. So if I go back to training, look right there it is. Done. Right there. and a chief officer or a training officer will review it. If there are any problems, they'll contact you, or they may offer corrections themselves, and they'll take care of the rest. Of course, to get back to your login screen, you just go to home, and you're good. Training's been entered in. It's done. Again, training reports, really simple. If you have any questions, see one of your officers. If the officer can't answer your questions, send it on up the chain. We'll help out. Training reports, simple. Get used to filling them out. Thanks.